This is TechCrunch.
Some major consolidation is afoot in the world of internet communications, and it will have implications for competition and consumer internet access in the United States. On Thursday, Verizon announced that it would gobble up Frontier Communications for $20 billion, more than double Frontier's market cap at the close of trading the night before. Frontier offers internet, phone, and TV services. It has also partnered with companies like Google and Amazon over the years to bundle other digital services or find new distribution channels. But Verizon's big interest in the company is its fiber business, and the fact that it extends to places that Verizon does not currently cover as well. Originally based in Tampa, Frontier currently has 2.2 million customers across 25 states, including the lucrative market of Washington, D.C. It's building out its network and plans to touch 10 million homes by 2026, up from 7 million today. Verizon, digging in deep on its telecoms roots under CEO Hans Vestberg, has been working on expanding its own Fios fiber network. Combined, the pair cover 25 million homes. This is a somewhat karmic turn of events. In 2009, Frontier acquired some of Verizon's legacy local exchange business for $8.5 billion. Adjusted for inflation, that's around $12.5 billion 2024 dollars. The acquisition of Frontier is a strategic fit, said Vestberg in a statement. It will build on Verizon's 2 decades of leadership at the forefront of fiber and is an opportunity to become more competitive in more markets throughout the United States, enhancing our ability to deliver premium offerings to millions more customers across a combined fiber network. Verizon reiterated its guidance for the year at the same time it announced the acquisition, and that points to another reason for the acquisition. Wireless revenues are due to grow between just 2% and 3.5%. As a point of comparison, they grew more than 8% in 2014, and EBITDA is expected to grow between 1% and 3%. Adding more customers and reach is a bet on fiber's staying power and promise to offset those figures. A long-running lawsuit over the Internet Archive's emergency e-book lending practices during the COVID-19 pandemic has ended in a loss for the website and a victory for publishers. The lawsuit concerned the Internet Archive's National Emergency Library, a program it established at the beginning of the pandemic to allow wider access to some 1.3 million ebooks. Previously only able to be checked out one at a time, books were later able to be borrowed by many people at once. The publishers, which already had an uneasy relationship with both the Internet Archive and the digital book lending community in general, sued soon after in June 2020. The publishers contended that going from single-user borrowing to limitless borrowing essentially turned the system from a notional library into unvarnished piracy. For its part, the Internet Archive asserted that its use of the books fell under the fair use doctrine, and that the removal of limits was done in the public interest. Furthermore, as a nonprofit organization, the Internet Archive could have no pecuniary motivation. The courts disagreed, and in March 2023 found the Internet Archive liable. The nonprofit and the plaintiffs reached an agreement, but the Internet Archive also attempted a long-shot appeal, which was just denied, finding that the original judgment was sound. Legally speaking, it is now essentially a matter of fact that what the Internet Archive did was unlawful. The court ruling is a divisive decision in that the Internet Archive was seen as doing a public good by making these books available at the time, and that overly restricting digital lending may have unintended negative consequences. At the same time, it's also hard not to sympathize with the authors who found their works freely available with no remuneration and little accountability. Wired, which first published the news, has a few statements covering the ground. As for the publishers, they've won the case, but left few convinced of their arguments. It's been questioned whether, as with some other forms of piracy, the Internet Archive's practices actually hurt sales in any way, and the long-term repercussions of this case and others in the same domain are yet to be explored and may be detrimental to libraries and digital lending in general. NASA officials expressed confidence that Starliner will have a safe and successful return to Earth late Friday evening, though they had enough reservations about the spacecraft's performance to conclude that the trip should be undertaken without humans on board. The high-stakes mission is now set to officially conclude on Friday, with Starliner making its undocking attempt around 6:04 p.m. Eastern Time. Should all go to plan, the spacecraft will land at New Mexico's White Sands Space Harbor approximately 6 hours later. These final maneuvers will bring to a close a troubled first crewed mission for the Boeing-made Starliner. It was meant to be the final certification mission before the vehicle could enter operation as a regular transporter for astronauts traveling to and from the International Space Station. But technical problems, including issues with several of the spacecraft's thrusters and a handful of helium leaks in the propulsion systems, cropped up shortly before the vehicle attempted to dock with the station on June 6th. The two astronauts on board, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, ended up boarding the ISS safely, but the issues ultimately extended the mission by several months as NASA and Boeing engineers worked to try to determine the root cause of the anomalies. After weeks of testing, both on the ground using replica hardware and on orbit, NASA ultimately decided on August 24th that Starliner should return to Earth empty, and Wilmore and Williams will come home using a SpaceX capsule in February 2025 instead. The return trip will have one major difference from normal return missions from the ISS, which is that Starliner will conduct what's called a breakout burn to quickly move it up and away from the station. This maneuver, which is actually 12 small burns with an orbital velocity of just 0.1 meter per second each, will see the thrusters pulsing for a shorter period of time than they did during the approach to the station. For this reason, the breakout burn will likely not cause the same problems as engineers observed at the start of the mission, and thus pose no safety threat to the ISS, said Steve Stitch, NASA's Commercial Crew Program Manager, during a news conference. The reasons we chose doing this breakout burn is it gets the vehicle away from station faster, he said. Without the crew on board, able to take manual control if needed, there's just a lot less variables we need to account for when we do the breakout burn, and it allows us to get the vehicle on the trajectory home that much sooner. The next critical maneuver will be the 60-second deorbit burn, which will put Starliner into Earth's atmosphere and en route to White Sands. The spacecraft will deploy parachutes and airbags to make a soft landing on the ground. We anticipate a good burn, and we have a lot of redundancy, and that's what we're relying on to have a safe entry, he added. NASA and Boeing will go through a few months of post-flight analysis of the spacecraft's performance, but Stitch said the teams are already looking at modifications to the system or additional testing to get the vehicle fully certified by the space agency. But it's unclear what the ultimate path will be to certify the spacecraft, let alone how much more it might cost Boeing, which has already incurred costs totaling more than $1.5 billion related to the Starliner program. It's also unclear whether Boeing would need to perform another crewed test mission. If NASA and Boeing's Joint Flight Control Team decides not to perform the undock on Friday, there will be several other opportunities in the coming days. Astronauts on board the space station have modified the SpaceX Dragon vehicle that's currently attached to the station with temporary seats in case of an emergency. The Cosmos Institute, a nonprofit whose founding fellows include Anthropic co-founder Jack Clark and former Defense Department technologist Brendan McCord, has announced a venture program and research initiatives to, in the organization's words, cultivate a new generation of technologists and entrepreneurs equipped with deep philosophical thinking to navigate the uncharted territory of our AI age. In a blog post, McCord, Cosmos chair, said that the Institute will found an AI lab at the University of Oxford called the Human-Centered AI Lab, or HAI Lab for short. It'll be led by Oxford philosopher Philip Corrales, another of the Institute's founding fellows, and will aim to translate the philosophical principles of human flourishing into open-source software and AI systems. What does translating the philosophical principles of human flourishing entail exactly? Unclear. But the crux is to foster the creation of AI tech that respects human dignity while avoiding promoting harmful disruption. Example, automation leading to job loss. A high and nebulous bar to be sure, but one the HAI Lab is going to strive for. The Institute is also spinning up a fellowship, the Cosmos Fellowship, with a cohort of 4 fellows to start, working at the HAI Lab or other partner institutions for between a term and a year. Fellows will collaborate with Cosmos mentors and pursue independent projects to explore the intersection of AI expertise and deep philosophical insight, McCord said. There's an investment component to the Institute's plans, and it's launching in the form of a venture org, Cosmos Ventures, led by former DeepMind product lead Jason Zhao, ex-Stripe head of corporate strategy Alex Komorowski, Darren Zhu, and Zoe Weinberg. Cosmos Ventures will support provocative new prototypes, essays, and creative projects that explore fundamental questions around the philosophy of technology, McCord said. McCord characterizes Cosmos Ventures as low overhead, modeled after Institute fellow Tyler Cowen's Emergent Ventures. Investments will range between $1,000 and $10,000 per project, and projects, which can be new or existing, must produce a major deliverable within 3 months. The first group has already been funded, McCord said. The Cosmos Institute isn't the first to attempt to advance a more ethical, humanistic vision of AI. OpenAI, founded with the mission of delivering the benefits of advanced AI to all humanity, has dismantled entire safety teams. Clark's own Anthropic once positioned itself as a safer, more ethical vendor, but in recent months has pushed back on AI regulations and aggressively scraped data without permission. Perhaps the Cosmos Institute will fare better with its embrace of what McCord calls accelerationism, the idea that the future isn't predetermined and therefore humanity is responsible for what it holds. We must build AI that encourages inquiry over complacency and promotes active engagement over passive dependence, especially in education, medicine, the public square, and other vital domains, McCord writes. We champion AI that decentralizes power and enables bottom-up solutions, allowing individuals and communities to co-create a richer, more diverse society. They're admirable positions. This reporter only hopes that money, influence, and power don't make the temptation to abandon them irresistible. That's all for now. For more stories like this one, visit TechCrunch.com.